Hey everyone, welcome to Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. Matthew Peterson here, breaking down the latest on the Dirty Birds. I've got two subjects I want to talk about. First, Kirk Cousins, and then an NFL draft prospect that's just skyrocketing up draft boards right now, who we have talked about before on the show. But let's start with the latest on Kirk. So some of the rumblings and the rumors coming from Indy is the Indianapolis Colts themselves could be a suitor for Kirk Cousins, which would just be the ultimate kind of, not full circle moment, but just deja vu. Atlanta Falcons trade veteran quarterback to the Indianapolis Colts. We saw it happen all over with Matt Ryan, and now it might be happening all over again with Cousins. Now, when Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot spoke to the media earlier this week, they did their absolute best to give people the impression they don't want to trade Kirk or they're comfortable with keeping him as their backup. I don't buy it for a second. I don't see a world where Kirk Cousins returns as the Atlanta Falcons backup quarterback. And it's not just because of the money, because you don't save anything by moving on from Kirk from a cap space perspective. But I think from a human element, that's just way too big of an elephant in the room to proceed with. It's not in Michael Penix's best interest to have Kirk Cousins sitting on the bench, helmet on, strapped up, no tablet, ready to go in. They should get a backup who's there to be a backup, who is there to support and get Penix ready every single Sunday. Not a backup who is there in his own self-interest of trying to reclaim his starting role. I'm not interested in that type of backup. That's a good style of backup for teams with a quarterback battle. There is no quarterback battle, as Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot said. It is Michael Penix's job. Now, a quarterback battle could be happening right here in Indianapolis. The Colts GM Chris Ballard said there will be a quarterback battle with Anthony Richardson. So then Kirk Cousins makes a lot of sense to be a backup in Indy because they are looking to bring in more competition for Richardson. And I think Cousins for the Colts could make some sense. One, he kind of fits the mold of what Indy has done. They went after older guys like Phillip Rivers, then they went to Carson Wentz. This is just the MO. And then they tried to go young with Richardson in the draft. I don't think that was a bad process. It just wasn't the right pick. I was never super high on Richardson coming out of Florida. He really lacked accuracy, and I don't think if you fail to connect with receivers in college, you're going to wake up in the NFL one day and become the most accurate QB. So I could see the Colts having a lot of interest in Kirk Cousins. And if you're Atlanta, it makes all the sense in the world to try and make a trade happen. But if not, just bite the bullet, release him, move on, turn the page, and look at how well that worked out for the Broncos. They bit the bullet. They moved on from Russell Wilson. They drafted Bo Nix, and they never looked back. So that's the latest on the Kirk Cousins front. An NFL draft prospect that I want to talk about next is the Texas A&M defensive end, Shamir Stewart. Now, before we get any further on him, make sure to scroll on down, hit that like button, and subscribe if you enjoy the free Falcons content we publish here. Now let's talk about the Aggie edge rusher, because he is someone who we have covered before on the channel. Remember, he's the ultimate traits guy, and that showed at the Combine. When I get back to Dallas and I'm back in the studio, I'm going to find the clip of when I shared that Stewart is someone who is going to blossom in Indianapolis, because that is where his physical profile is going to be on full display. And he is testing through the roof. The RAS score, relative athletic score, it factors in your height, your weight, and then all the measurements you get from all the drills you do here, and it spits out a score. It's number one, and it's in the same territory of guys like Trayvon Walker, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney. All three defensive ends pass rushers, all three went first overall. So Stewart might be someone who, for a while there, we kind of did not give a lot of time to for Atlanta, pick number 15. By we, I mean me, because I am Mr. Production at the pass rusher spot. But there's a chance he may not even fall to 15 right now. So if you were looking for the hot upcoming name from the Combine, it's Stewart. He is by far the number one talked about winner so far from Indianapolis, and his physical profile has done him a huge favor in making him probably a few million more dollars by going earlier in the draft. So it may not even be an option for Atlanta, pick number 15, but I'm going to continue to preach it like it's the gospel, and it may not be a popular opinion, and it may not age well, but I don't care. For me, I cannot overlook a lack of production at the defensive end position. I don't care how fast you are, how strong you are. If you can't get to the quarterback in college, I've got a tough time believing when you get to the NFL, you're going to learn how to sack the quarterback. Now, Stewart did have a lot of success in creating pressures in college, so there is some belief of you just got to convert those pressures to sacks. And don't get me wrong, I think pressures are a very valuable stat, but 1.5 sacks in 3 straight seasons, that's just too low of a number for me to believe that all of a sudden he's going to get to the pros and he's going to learn what it's going to take to get 8 to 10 to 12 sacks in a year. So Stewart to me is someone that, while a lot of other people are really high on right now and look as a great potential option for any team in search of a pass rusher, I'm going to pass still. And again, this can be ridiculed and old takes exposed in 2 to 3 years, but you want honesty? There's honesty. One more name, by the way, that's really catching some attention. It's Tennessee's James Pierce Jr. He tested through the roof yesterday at his 40-yard dash when he ran a sub-4 5.40. Now, it's also an important reminder that defensive ends in football are rarely asked to sprint 40 yards, so while that is a nice number and everyone drools over the 40-yard dashes, I think it's more important for some positions than others. For defensive ends, I don't value it that much. For wide receivers, sure. Running backs, yes and no. I don't think you have to be a home run style speed running back to be successful at the next level. It's got some value to it, but for every great hit like Xavier Worthy, great 40-yard dash, you've got misses like John Ross. So I'm interested in football players, not track players. So like a drill that I do find even more valuable for wide receivers is the drill where they run from sideline to sideline and they're catching balls and they're dropping them and they're going down the line and catch, drop, catch, drop, catch, drop. To me, that shows more of your game speed, right? How are you able to run at full speed while something's being thrown at you? The 40-yard dash might have been great for trying to figure out how well you can cover a punt, but I'm not interested in finding guys who can do a great job on punt coverage. I'm interested in guys who can play at a high level. So while James Pierce did have a phenomenal 40-yard dash, that to me is not a major needle mover to the point where lock it in. This guy ran a 4.46 40. What are we talking about here? That's the pick. Turn it in at number 15. No, I've got some other questions as well. So those are some of the big storylines coming out from Indianapolis here at the NFL Combine. Really appreciate every single one of you that tunes in and catches our coverage. And if you enjoy it, make sure to scroll on down, click that like button, and subscribe like I said. And if you're still watching, you know the drill. Drop an ATL in the comment section.